All right, what's going on, everyone? Hunter Doyle here from Inside the Eagles and Philly Insider Podcast. We got Max Richardson on here today. Do you prefer Max or Maximilian?
You can call me Max, and I just appreciate you and thanks for having me on.
Of course. Well, Max, I'm going to read off some of your accomplishments here. First off, you're a 2021 NFL draft prospect, which is just a huge accomplishment in and of itself, getting to this point where you're looking at taking your talent to the next level. All ACC selection the past 2 years, from what I read, and 315 career tackles at Boston College. I mean, very impressive considering, a lot of the Boston College linebackers you've had there in the past, and just being up there with some of those guys is an honor, I'm sure. So thank you so much for this opportunity, man. Before we get started, just tell everyone how you're doing and, how the whole draft process has gone, I guess.
It's been fun and it's been a lot of work being in training. Currently, I train in Miami, Florida at Pete Bomarito's Fitness. And he's a great trainer in terms of the 40-yard dash, which is critical in this process.
Right.
But overall, yes, I think a great comment you made was I'm very blessed to be here. Whether or not this or that happens with the NFL, I was blessed to play at BC for 5 years, and I'm very proud of the 300 tackles. Me and my dad kind of set a goal when I started to start there at Mike Linebacker to get 300 career. And so when I passed that versus Virginia, he was very happy as well.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. I mean, like I said, huge accomplishment considering some of the linebackers from Boston College before, which we'll talk about too. But before we get into this, man, I got some get to know you questions just to get started. Just break the ice a little bit. So first off, got to ask you, do you have a favorite TV show?
Favorite TV show this past year was probably Ozark.
Gotcha. Good choice there. And funniest teammate at Boston College, got to know.
Funniest teammate at BC. Wow, I haven't been in the locker room in a while, but funniest teammate by far has got to be Jamin Muse.
Gotcha. All right. And then one last question. If you had one, who was your favorite athlete growing up?
Growing up, I really looked up to Ray Lewis a lot, but athlete, I think Michael Phelps was somebody I really just watched a lot of.
Yeah, I mean, proven winner. Watching Michael Phelps in the Olympics every year never got old. And I mean, Ray Lewis with, just the passion he played with, also his story, just such an inspiring journey to the NFL. Got to respect it. So speaking of journeys, tell us a little bit about your own journey to get here. Obviously, you go through high school, you go through BC, and to get to this point, there's a lot of hard work and preparation that we don't see behind the scenes. We only see the product on the field that you put out there, right? So tell us how you got into football just as a young man, and also just, like I said, just your journey up to this point and everything that you've gone through.
Yeah, so I didn't start playing football until I was 9 years old. And where I'm from in Atlanta, Georgia, generally kids start at about 5 or 6. And I always wanted to play. And my dad was like, when you start playing, it's going to be physical. It's a lot of hard work. So we waited until I was 9. And I didn't start understanding what he was talking about as physical and hard work as it was until I got to college and it really kicked in. So it's an unbelievable game. A lot of times it's not pleasing to feel on the body or even pleasing for the mind, but it is unbelievable to be out there. And I think a big part of the football journey, especially for me, is facing adversity. Not every practice is going to be good. It's funny because you get a playbook and everything's drawn up, but no play is ever exactly designed how it was supposed to go down.
Right.
So football is a imperfect game, but I think it teaches perfect traits and personalities, honorable things to become as a man. So I really appreciate the game, and that's one of the reasons I want to continue to play it and hopefully play it for a very long time.
Yeah, 100%. And you hinted at the adversity part about it. So talk to us a little bit about like some of those times of adversity where maybe you considered quitting, maybe you just were really down and out, and just how you pushed through those to get to this point.
Yeah, well, I've been blessed not to have to go through surgery or injuries too many times, but during my sophomore year, I was starting at Mike Linebacker. I really had made a goal for myself to make an impact in the conference and on the team, and I was doing that. It was my first year starting. We were running a great defense. And 4 games into the season, at Clemson in Death Valley, we were playing a pretty tight game with them. It was like 7-0 going into half, and I got cut block and tore my knee up pretty bad. And so that was one of the first times I had to sit out for a long period of the season, but I still felt in my heart I was a great player and I was a leader on the team because I had been playing Mike. But it was a great piece of adversity that I had to navigate in order to figure out how to be a great teammate, a great football player. But I think sitting out my sophomore year really helped me really value being out there and value, rehab and prehab, being proactive with your injuries off the field. So it was something I had to do.
Yeah, for sure. And, a lot of athletes talk about, the times of injuries, it's almost like being on an island at times because, you're trying to rehab and get back and, you want to be out there with the team, but you just can't. So it's not always the easiest, but it's always interesting to hear about different athletes because every athlete experiences an injury or something that, hits home just in life too, that they have to push through. And then go more towards, the college football side of things. What kind of led you to Boston College when you were making that decision? And also, what are you going to remember most about your time there? I know you just talked about, how much of a blessing it was to play there.
What led me to Boston College was a few of my teammates that I had and that hosted me on official visits. They were from Atlanta, Georgia. Miles Willis, who was a former running back, and Will Harris, who now plays with the Detroit Lions. Those guys really talked to me on the visits and made me realize it's a great brotherhood that I admire being a part of. And the coach who recruited me actually is now the linebackers coach at Ohio State, and he was just playing for the national championship this past year. His name's Al Washington. But yeah, at BC, I think one of the special things about our locker room is the team. Everybody's pretty tight. So all the memories, all the fun times we had going out to eat together and hanging out are a special part of the journey. But, flying to away games, my first time flying to Virginia Tech and the crowd being unbelievable, my first time playing in Death Valley and playing in front of College Game Day in 2018 at Alumni Stadium versus Clemson. All those memories are especially good personally to be out there, but to look around and be out there with your best friends is really special.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, locker room is such an important part of it. I played high school varsity baseball. I didn't want to play at the next level, but it takes a whole team. For you guys, it takes all 11 guys on your side of the ball. It takes all 22 in general, and you got punt team and all that too. So yeah, great answer. And also going off that, you hinted at one of your coaches, Al Washington. I want to ask about a couple other of your coaches as well. You had Jeff Hafley, defensive coordinator, guy who's coached at the NFL level. And then you had, and at Ohio State, he coached as well from what I read. And then Bill Sheridan, who was there before Jeff Hafley, who was your linebackers coach and defensive coordinator. What kind of impact did they make on you to kind of teach you the things you needed to know to get to the next level? And also just to, throw in a little promo there, the Eagles, I believe you guys played a 4-3. The Eagles play a 4-3, and we could really use a Mike linebacker. So I'm hoping you're going to be an Eagle at the next level too.
Well, before Coach Haff and Coach Sheridan, I had Coach Addazio as the head coach, and Coach Reed was originally my linebackers coach, Jim Reed. He became D coordinator in 2017, and then now he is somewhere else. But when Coach Sheridan came along in 2018, it was really great, and we had a really tight bond. He was probably the closest coach I was with in my time here, but he was a NFL caliber linebackers coach. He had just coached linebackers for the Detroit Lions. He also had an opportunity with the Chiefs as well. He was a part of a Super Bowl winning defense in New York Giants with Michael Strahan. But anyways, he was an unbelievable linebackers coach. Like I said, an NFL caliber coach. And he was an unbelievable man also. He was a man of great principle, a few words, but we shared a really special bond. And so it was interesting in 2019 when he left. and Coach Hafley came in and brought in the D coordinator, Tim Lukabu, and Sean Duggan as the linebackers coach, which was especially cool because Coach Duggan had played for the Eagles in 2015, 2014, 2013, and prior. So me and Coach Duggan are also very close. We share a very special bond. And he's also an unbelievable coach, hopefully on to the NFL someday. But it's interesting how Coach Sheridan taught and how Coach Duggan taught. And they were both very beneficial. Sometimes a little more curse words and a little less talking, and oftentimes more talking than anything else. So it was great to learn from both of those guys.
Yeah, for sure. And also talking about Boston College, I mean, obviously you've had guys like Matt Milano come out of there. You had Luke Kuechly back a while ago. Just what's it like? I believe Matt Milano was your teammate for a little bit too, possibly for a year. Correct me on that if I'm wrong. But I mean, point being, you guys have already had a couple linebackers make it at the NFL level from Boston College. What's it like having that example and seeing those guys go out there and not only play at the NFL level, but those guys have been very successful in what they've done. I mean, Kuechly he retired, but what's it like just seeing those guys come from where you came from?
It's great to have those guys who have sat in the chairs we've sat because you can see the vision is very clear. You know exactly what you're trying to accomplish. Here, Luke is with all these great goals and numbers that BC linebackers will be motivated to chase forever. And Matt is unbelievable athletic dude, a great dude, and he really inspired me as a young freshman to just stay focused and do the work. So, but both of those guys and many more, Connor Strahan, Stephen Daniels, Ty Schwab, and so on. So it's really cool to be able to learn from those guys.
Yeah, 100%. And also going off of that, talk to us about kind of your play style as a linebacker. Give us a little bit of your own prospect profile in your own words, and just like the importance of technique and fundamentals that you go over day in and day out, just to try to perfect your craft.
Well, I think that's one of the strengths of my game is technique and fundamentals. All the BC coaches will say that every day at practice, I practice like a professional. So I practice on the little things more than the bigger picture. So I think it's important to be fast, to be able to jump high, and to be rangy, but it's also important to be smart and be organized, focus on your job at hand. I do think one of my strengths is my physicality, block destruction. I'm also very versatile. I can play at 5 yards, and I can play in the blitz game as well. And instinctively, I'm very quick. My first step is as good as any other linebackers in the country.
Yeah, and being able to diagnose right off the bat. I mean, especially at the back end with safeties and linebackers, that's such an important part. Just you take one wrong step, I mean, the whole play could be over. It could be a big touchdown going the other way. So that's important. And you talked a lot about how you've been a Mike linebacker. Do you see yourself playing the Mike at the NFL level, or can you play other positions like the Sam and the Will? And also, do you play at all on special teams?
Yes, I do. I play on all 4 special teams, and I have in my BC career. This past year, I only played on punt, but that was because I never played I never came out on punt, nor did I ever come out on defense. So I can play all the special teams, and I'm hoping to, and especially going to the NFL. As far as Mike, Will, and Sam, I think my main position is Mike and Will in a 4-3 style defense, and in a 3-4 also Mike and Will. However, I've had some Sam experience in my life at BC, so I'm just ready for whatever. Gotcha.
That's the mindset you got to have going into the league. And I mean, special teams, I always preach this all the time on our podcast because I love watching special teamers. That's what'll separate you from a lot of other prospects, is being willing to go out there and play on punts, being willing to go out there and play on kickoff, stuff like that. That's kind of how you sustain an NFL career too. And then we talked about, Kuechly and Milano. Are there any other NFL linebackers you admire, or you like to study film on?
Yeah, I really admire Roquan Smith. He's a UGA guy. I'm actually from Gwinnett County, Georgia, which isn't far from there.
Gotcha.
And I know Roquan through working out, and I really admire his game. I learn a lot from him. And another one is Deion Jones with the Falcons. Obviously, he's a superstar, super fast, and can play in space, but he's very crafty too. I appreciate his game.
Yeah, I mean, Bears are lucky to have a guy like Roquan. He really does. He flies all around. I mean, Dion sometimes reminds me of a safety the way he plays, but I mean, obviously he can lay the boom too. And then I want to ask you about a specific game you had, 2019 versus Syracuse. You were all over the place, man. 8 tackles, 1.5 tackles for loss, 1 sack, and you had that odd forced fumble where I believe it was Tommy DeVito tried to reach over and extend for the first down. So talk to us about that game specifically, or any other games that kind of come into your mind that were just like really breakout games and just gave you a lot of confidence.
Yeah, I can appreciate my times with Syracuse, especially in the Courier Dome. Me and Dino Babers have always had a few words to each other on the sideline, talking some trash, which is kind of funny. But yeah, that play especially, DeVito made a very poor decision, and it helped us out. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, got to be ready to take advantage of mistakes on the fly like that. And also, I mean, we've seen videos of you kind of in the locker room, kind of being a leader for those guys, getting everyone, hyped up for the game. Talk to us about, you hinted at it earlier too, just being in the locker room and the importance of locker room chemistry and what you bring specifically to an NFL locker room.
So yeah, the locker room is a special place in football. And as one of my old coaches, Brian White, used to say, it's not for sale. There's
Right.
no price tag on that. You'll love those times forever. But this year I take great pride in being able to communicate with my teammates. And on game day, they like to hear from me. A couple guys started to ask, you got to talk to us this Saturday. So I just appreciated being able to say something to them that hopefully made them feel or understand a little bit of my passion for the game.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, leadership is always something that again, scouts are going to look at. And I mean, it's something that a lot of that's just something you're kind of born with sometimes. I mean, leaders can be made as well. But I mean, a lot of it is just kind of who you are. So that's something that's important. And also, I mean, no combine this year, man. We're kind of still in the pandemic sort of thing. Like, obviously it's different than it was this time last year when it was just starting up. But how do you continue to stay in shape and stay prepared for these times for, pro days and for different types of bowls and stuff like that? How do you stay in shape? And sometimes, I mean, I'll be honest, like sometimes it's hard to lose or it's easy to lose motivation. So how do you stay motivated in these times as well?
Well, I think preseason of this last year has helped us a bit because it was the same scenario. The circumstances were unknown, but your focus has to remain the same in order to be successful. So I think I'm a little bit experienced in the field of the unknown and working towards a goal, which may not be in sight yet. But I think one thing that helps me is keeping a day-by-day mentality, even hour by hour, even just thought by thought. You got to be telling yourself the right thing at all times. Self-talk is a great, easy activity to be a catalyst for like self-motivation or self-help.
Right. Yeah, for sure. I mean, I took a sports philosophy or psychology class last semester. I mean, self-talk was one of the things they talked about, like one of the mechanisms, like stay motivated, stay confident, and kind of envision yourself just going out there and getting to work, right? So also, we've talked about your game a lot. I want to get from you, what do you feel is the strongest aspect of your game, and then biggest aspect of your game you want to improve upon as you head to the next level?
The biggest aspect I want to improve upon is playing in space. I want to continue to be better at that. And then personal strength of mine is intelligence. When I'm out there focused on the game, it's a strength of mine to be able to be aware of a lot of things. So.
Yeah, I mean, that's how you have to play. You got to have high awareness. And, I mean, like you talked about, you can jump as high, like you can be the highest vertical in the draft, but I mean, a lot of it comes down to football IQ as well. I mean, and that's like a lot of prospects separates them in interviews. I know back in the day, quick story, Jamarcus Russell, quarterback from LSU, highly touted prospect. They gave him blank tapes because they didn't think he was watching the tapes. And they asked him, did you watch the blitz package tapes we sent you this week? And he said, yeah, I got it all. And obviously the tapes were blank, so there's nothing on them. So, I mean, very important at the NFL level to be a high football IQ player. Be able to recognize, like, look, there's a bubble screen, stuff like that, the little things that you just see from another team on film. So I want to commend you on that answer. And just want to ask you, for NFL teams and NFL fans too, like, what are they getting in Max Richardson if you go to their team this April?
You're getting any team that I go to this April is getting a smart, organized, highly capable linebacker who will be a great man on and off the field. So I'm willing to do whatever it is to make a team. If they're selling candy, selling popcorn, selling soda, I'll do that too.
I got you, man. Well, great answer. And anything you want to say before we wrap up?
No, man, I appreciate you having me on. Thanks for doing this. It was great.
Hey, I appreciate you. I'm looking forward to seeing you at the next level, and just want to thank you again for this opportunity, and we wish you the best, man. So thank you for doing this with us, and everyone, we're going to sign off now. Run, baby, run. Shout out Miles Sanders, and fly, Eagles, fly. We'll see you guys later.